Sports Illustrated has published an incredibly thorough and highly disturbing investigation into the Dallas Mavericks. SI's reporter spoke to more than a dozen employees. Those employees gave repeated, consistent accounts of a corporate culture that has been downright hostile to women, starting at the very top with the man who led the organization as its president and CEO for nearly 20 years. That man's name is Terdema Ussery, and he left the Mavericks 3 years ago, but the article describes how in his decades with the team, Ussery routinely propositioned women who worked for him. Go to a meeting with the head of your company, the women at the Mavericks told SI, and be ready for him to try to fondle your thigh or your calf or physically corner you in an elevator or ask you to sleep with him, or in one particularly gross story, have him tell you in the middle of a team dining room how he's picturing you as part of a gangbang. And of course, when the team president is acting like that, well, the employees SI spoke to say that set a tone for men throughout the organization, a tone of preying on women from all sides, a tone that they say hasn't changed even since Ussery left. So did these women complain to HR, to their supervisors? Yes, they told SI, but then they were told to toughen up. Or in one woman's case, she reports being actually threatened if she didn't keep her mouth shut. Now, Ussery himself denies all of these allegations. He told SI in a statement, quote, "I am deeply disappointed that anonymous sources have made such outright false and inflammatory accusations against me." He then added that, quote, "During my nearly 20-year tenure with the Mavericks, I am not aware of any sexual harassment complaints about me or any findings by the organization that I engaged in inappropriate conduct." Yeah, that last part, that's just actually a flat-out lie. Read the Dallas Morning News clips from all the way back in 1998. You will see that Ussery was the subject of a 6-week internal investigation for just this kind of contact. Of course, internal investigation is another way of saying that the men who worked for the CEO were told to investigate their boss, and guess what? He was cleared. I am shocked. Interestingly, when Ussery finally left the Mavs, it was for a big job with Under Armour. You want to know how long he lasted there? Less than 2 months. The SI report details how a female employee reported him to HR for, being sexually inappropriate with her in an elevator. And unlike the Mavericks, Under Armour appears to have actually done something about it. And that's really the key here. Are you a business that is okay with this kind of stuff, or aren't you? With the Mavericks, the problem does seem to be institutional, especially when you consider what happened with another team employee, Earl Snead. Back in 2011, Snead beat his girlfriend, leaving her with a broken wrist, multiple bruises. Police charged him. Snead pled guilty. That's bad in itself. It also meant Snead could no longer travel to Canada, which he needed to do when the Mavericks played the Raptors. But hey, the Mavs decided to keep him on staff anyway. In fact, Snead ended up dating another Mavericks employee who in 2014 showed up to work with a swollen face and told HR that Snead had hit her. Again, the team didn't fire Snead. Instead, and this is truly jaw-dropping, Snead tells the Dallas Morning News that it was all okay since, hey, the team had him sign a contract promising he'd no longer have one-on-one fraternization with any female employees. You've got to be kidding me. Think about what message that sends to every woman in the office. This guy can hit one of you, and we are going to keep him around and make you continue to see him every day and work with him. And that's just the women inside the team who knew what was going on. Snead had a job where he was with the Mavericks on road trips, putting him to work and travel situations with any number of women who work with the NBA, who had no idea they were hanging out with a man who had repeatedly turned violent. ESPN.com's Tim McMahon spoke to Mark Cuban about Snead this morning. Cuban admitted that after Snead was arrested, he simply accepted Snead's version of events and never even read the police report. Now, to his credit, Cuban took full responsibility for keeping Snead employed, saying, quote, "It was a horrible mistake in hindsight." And yesterday, he fired Snead. As for Ussery, who Cuban worked side by side with for years, well, Cuban won't answer questions about Ussery. He did tell SI, quote, "This is all new to me." He also told SI, quote, "I want to deal with this issue. I mean, there's obviously a problem in the Mavericks organization, and we've got to fix it. That's it. We're going to take every step. It's not something we tolerate." So what are the steps? Well, Cuban has suspended his HR director. He has also hired a law firm to launch an investigation. The firm is led by a former prosecutor in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. And hey, the Mavericks should get credit for hiring someone with a strong ethical reputation. But there's still plenty of questions here. Because how independent is this investigation when the Mavericks are hiring someone for this instead of the NBA itself? Will the report be public? And if so, who from the league or the team will get their hands on editing it or trying to get out in front of it before it is released? And how does a man like Mark Cuban, who repeatedly brags about how hands-on he is as an owner, who last year you may remember got involved in the minutia of counting the number of games team beat writers attended when deciding how to hand out credentials, say that he never knew any of the stories that it took a couple of reporters just a few months to collect? And if he really didn't know about that situation that was clearly so pervasive, what does that say? And how many other teams have issues like this we haven't heard about yet? The answers here won't be easy, but we need to find them because this game is too good, the sport is too good, this league is too good to let something this bad continue.